What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Over the Octagon podcast. We had a fight night last night between Brandon Royval and Taira that had serious title implications in the UFC flyweight division. Earlier in the day, we had UFC 310 get announced, main evented by Belal Muhammad facing the undefeated 18-0 with 18 finishes contender Shavkhat Rakmanhov. Now, the co-main event, Pantoja, the flyweight champion. This is why last night's fight matters. The flyweight champion will defend his title against UFC newcomer Kai Azakura. Hope I'm saying that right. Not sure. But his UFC debut, and he's stepping right into a title against Alexandra Pantoja. We're not sure how we feel about that. And we watched Brandon Royval do what he did last night against the 24-year-old Taira. It feels kind of weird to give the newcomer a championship opportunity this early. But we also, Friday night, watched Karate Combat 50, KC50, live from Salt Lake City, Utah. This is Over the Octagon's 100th episode. So make sure, if you're not already, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the thumbs up, like the video. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, or Spotify, make sure you turn on automatic downloads, rate the show 5 stars, never miss another episode. We have a very, very special guest joining us in this episode after a very recent fight of his and a viral moment. So you're going to want to hang out and see who that is. Absolutely incredible. We had a little sit-down interview with him. For the Over the Octagon 100th episode, it only makes sense to have this guy as our guest. We love him. You love him. It's going to be amazing. As always, stay up, like the video. Let's go, baby. Let's get into it.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I actually admire that you can actually be this fake. And like when the TV comes on, how you can just change. You're the scum of the earth.
You don't doubt me, I couldn't do it. The odds that I couldn't do it. Look at me now. Look at me. Headshot, dead. That's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Over
What's
the
up,
Octagon
baby?
podcast, we're back with another one. This will not be the celebration episode, but technically speaking, this is episode 100
Let's go.
of the Over the Octagon
Let's
podcast, man, which is a pretty huge milestone. Wish we had some bigger event to talk about, but we do have a special guest joining us today a little bit later on in the episode, which I feel like is really fitting for this episode too.
For sure.
So looking forward to that, especially with some events this weekend. This is a great guest. So without further ado, if you're not already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Click the thumbs up, like the video. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, or Spotify, make sure you rate the show 5 stars. Turn on automatic downloads. Never miss another episode. With that being said, let's get right into it. We're fresh off a UFC Vegas 98, a fight night at the Apex last night, main evented by Brandon Royval and Taira. We were all super high on Taira. I think at 24 years old, even after last night's loss to Brandon Moreno, Taira definitely showed he belongs in the top 5. And I think it's really only up from here. I think he improves off this loss greatly. He lacked in the striking department last night against Brandon Royval, but he showed just how elite his grappling and jiu-jitsu is specifically, which I think gives a lot of guys problems.
Oh, yeah. I think that was his the most impressive part about him last night was just his ability to transition into the craziest positions to avoid being, beat.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he ended up losing the fight by split decision, but still though, like that second and fourth round, it was almost like a mirror, first and third and second and fourth. I think they even said that last night. Like Royval's first and third round were almost identical, and then Taira's second and fourth round was like the exact same round almost to watch, and it was just pure dominance. Like
dominated, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the reason it was a split decision is because Sal D'Amato, one judge, gave the first round to Tatsuro Taira.
Yeah, which is wild because I don't think he won the first round at all.
No, there's no way. That I don't understand. Whatever, more controversial judging, but I do think the right man won. I do think the right man won that fight for sure. And Brandon Royval. So we said it last night as we were watching this event together. It's seemingly tied 2-2 going into the fifth round. This is what makes mixed martial arts the best sport on the planet, in my opinion. It's tied 2-2 going into the fifth round of a main event. You have two vastly different styles, boxing versus the grappler.
Yep.
And the reason it's tied 2-2 is because Royval dominated in the boxing, then Taira dominated in the grappling, then Royval with the boxing, Taira with the grappling. And we go into a fifth and final round to decide it all, right? And what style is going to win. And what we saw in that fifth round actually was really impressive by Brandon Royval.
Because he won the grappling battle.
He was able to stop takedowns. He was able to stop takedowns.
And even get full mount, didn't he? He had him in full mount at one point in the fifth round, I believe.
He did get a takedown himself. He did, he was threatening submissions in that last round. He was still winning on the feet. Either way, that got fight of the night last night, which, I mean, looking at the rest of the card, which we're not even going to dive into, we have more on the agenda today, but that's a clear winner for fight of the night. That was an amazing fight. Like how competitive, even interesting, like just everything about that fight was fantastic. It lived up to everything I hoped it would have, although it didn't necessarily give me the result that as a fan I wanted, as a fan of Tatsuro Taira that I wanted. I wanted him to win. But he is only 24 years old, right? So I think there's a lot of room for growth there.
I mean, dude, the top five is there's a lot going on right now within that top five. One we'll talk about later, obviously, with the new main event being announced for 310.
Yeah.
But even if you take the top five and look at it, I mean, Royval's the number one contender. You have the number two and the number three people fighting each other in November.
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And then you have
3 weeks.
France is just coming off of a big win. Like, now do you kind of play the, 2-3 wins, and then you take number 4 and make him fight Brandon Royval for like a number one contender, not a number one contender, but like a title contender shot. But then again,
he did call for the title last night,
which he deserves. I think. I mean,
I do too. He's beaten Moreno. He's beaten.
He beat Moreno, lost to Pantoja.
Yeah, So I think it is next for him. But he also said he'd weigh in and be the backup for Moreno Albazi, which seems crazy to me. But if he were to do that and then win, it also really cements himself as the next contender. But with all this being said and talking about all this in the UFC flyweight division, let's just go right into kind of our next topic with these UFC 310 announcements that Dana White gave us on Saturday. Obviously we'll talk about the headliner on that and the main event of that pay-per-view card in December. But right now with our focus on the flyweight division, the co-main event for UFC 310 is Alexander Pantoja versus Kai Azakura, which Kai was the Rizin champion, which is a MMA promotion in Japan. He recently signed with the UFC. Big free agent signing for the UFC. But this is his UFC debut in December at UFC 310, and he is going right to a title shot against Alexander Pantoja. What do you think about the UFC kind of giving him that opportunity right away, and how does that play out?
I hate it because it kind of like kills the. I'm trying to think of the word. Like, I guess it kills like the not credibility of the UFC, but it kind of kills the good you have going on. I mean, you have 4 or 5 people who are in title contentions, and then you bring a guy who's not only not fought in the UFC before, but has also lost a few times in his previous organization,
Yeah.
and then you give him a title shot off his first jump. I get he's great, I get he's good, but like, who's to say like a Kai Car France who just came off a big win, has been in the spotlight before, give him a shot, or Amir Albazi still hasn't even got a shot yet. What if he beats Moreno in 2-3 weeks? And then
Yeah.
why doesn't he deserve a shot? You give up Muhammad Makayev, which I understand,
Right.
whatever, but
Right.
like, why,
Right.
why didn't he ever get a chance to fight for the title, even as the undefeated prospect, But then we bring a guy over who's, I get in an organization, and Japan Rising is huge. It's almost like a reminder of pride from the OG days. But like,
Sure.
I don't feel like if I was 1, 2, or 3 on this list, or even 4 on this list, and I saw them do that, I'd kind of be a little bit like, what the fuck, man? Like, I
Yeah.
fought so hard to get to even stay in this spot, and then you bring somebody else. I guess
You
new
would
blood or whatnot.
you would have to assume that's how Brandon Royval feels, right? I mean, he did
Yeah.
lose to Pantoja. His grappling looked significantly better last night against Taira than it did against Pantoja, but he did get dominated when he got taken down.
Sure.
But he was a lot better last night at not getting taken down. Pantoja, that wasn't a thing. Pantoja just took him down pretty much at will and kept him there.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, talking about Kai Azakura making his UFC debut, co-main 310 for the flyweight belt. Just so everybody knows, we talked about this before we started recording this episode today, and just so anybody listening knows, obviously a champion, obviously a great fighter. He's also 1-1 in his career against Manel Cape, who is currently the number 9 ranked UFC flyweight.
Yeah.
So, like, I have a hard time being like, oh, this guy's so dominant. Oh, this guy's incredible. He's one of the great, that he genuinely deserves this. But, like, at the same time, on your resume, you're 1-1 against Manel Cape, and that one loss also was a TKO.
Yeah.
You won. The win was a split decision. He beat Manel Cape by split decision, and the one he lost was a TKO. Manel Cape is the 9th ranked flyweight in the UFC and really is very far from a title shot.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like, it's not even close. Now, why do they give it to him? And I have a theory. We kind of spoke about this a little bit. Obviously them signing him, it was a big free agent. I remember when that announcement was made, it definitely created some waves, right? People were excited about that signing. Last night you had Brandon Royval, Tatsui Taira, the 1 and the 5. In 2 or 3 weeks, you have Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. That's the 2 and the 3. The only guy in that top 5 that doesn't have a fight booked is Kai Car France, who just knocked out Steve Erceg. And Steve Erceg had just previously fought for the title. So, in my mind, aside from Kai Car France, there is no one to fight. And you have this hot new signing prospect. I get it makes sense in that sense, but at the same time, I mean, what are we doing with Kai Car France here?
I kind of wonder if they were banking on Tatsuri Taira to win last night. And then they were banking on this new Kai guy, like from Ryzen, to come in and win, and then they set up a Japan versus Japan title shot.
I think in the future that's possible, but also, like, these announcements were made before last night's fight, so this had obviously been decided, well before.
But I mean, Taira was a minus 350 favorite last night. I mean, which they had him very highly rated.
Which we said in the beginning of that fight how disrespectful that was to
Royval.
To Royval, yeah. I mean, this kid is relatively untested. He's 24 years old. Yeah, he was undefeated, but you know, like we always say, man, there's levels, dude.
Dude,
He definitely showed he belongs.
So much.
He definitely showed he belongs.
Yeah.
Nothing he did last night discredits him as a fighter
at
all.
He can take some fucking hits, dude.
That's true.
Taira
He's got a chin.
Tough. He has a chin, bro. He got his ass whooped standing up last night.
Yeah.
And it was not even a question. He couldn't even like hurt Brandon Royval.
No, I don't.
Like,
on the feet,
too fast for him on the feet.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he did have a few shots here and there on Royval, but nothing.
Nothing significant enough to be like, damn, dude, this guy's striking is elite. Like Royval looked elite when it came to striking last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And then your other announcements we got yesterday from UFC 310. We only have a few minutes here, but we will kind of go through them, and it is a little early to deep dive into this card, so let's just give kind of our initial thoughts. The main event was announced yesterday by Dana White for UFC 310 on December 7th. Belal Muhammad defends his belt against undefeated 18-0 Shavkhat Rakmanhov.
Yeah, buddy.
I have two maybe contradicting thoughts. Maybe not so contradicting, but one, it excites the hell out of me because I want Shavkhat 19-0, 19 finishes. Obviously, not a big fan of Belal's. I think this is a good opportunity to just take that belt right out of Belal's hands.
Sure.
On the other hand, in a 4-month turnaround, Belal did actually accept the fight against the scariest guy in his division.
Yeah, respect to him for taking it. I did not think he was fighting this year.
I mean, honestly, like he could have, like a less scary opponent would honestly be the rematch against Leon. That's not as frightening to me as Shavkhat. Like,
sure,
Leon is obviously world class champion. One of the best. Shavkhat just at right now, his aura, he just has boogeyman energy, dude.
Yeah.
You
got him, you got Shavkhat, and then you have my best Jamal Hill.
Right.
Belal.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it is interesting. I mean, he accepted that fight, man. Props to Belal Muhammad for accepting a fight against Shavkhat Rakmanhov.
It was either that or he had no fucking choice, and Dana was like, look here, motherfucker, we need a main event. You either accept it or I'm giving your ass the worst fucking championship.
I'm interested to see. Yeah, I would be interested to see kind of how that conversation went down. I feel like it probably wasn't that, maybe. Yeah, I mean, dude, there's nothing to say but to give Belal props for even accepting that fight against a really scary guy. But on the other hand, it excites the hell out of me because this is the fight. Like, this is definitely the fight with the most merit in that division. Like, the best guy versus the best guy type deal, right?
Are we going to see a potential Leon Shavkhat?
Yeah, I think that we got to let this go first and see what happens. But because this is another big step in competition for Shavkhat, truly.
Yeah.
Belal definitely kind of had to grind his way more up to the top than Shavkhat did. Shavkat's last win was against Wonder Boy, and before that, Jeff Neal, right? So it's not quite to the level that some of these other guys are reaching, which is fine. He's still 18-0, 18 finishes, just an absolute stud. The other announcements we got yesterday, besides that co-main we already spoke about, is fucking Nick Diaz.
Luke and Nick Diaz is back on a card, boys.
Yeah, so this fight was originally scheduled for Atlantic City, I believe.
Yep, it was.
Back in March, I think it was.
Yep.
Luke injured or something happened, I believe, with Luke. The fight fell through. Welterweight division, December 7th. Nick Diaz is back against Vicente Luque. Nick Diaz also 41 years old now.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like he's in some decent shape, though.
Yeah, I mean, his last fight, he fought Robbie Lawler. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, that was forever ago.
Well, no. I mean, remember, they fought again. He lost to Lawler. And, I mean, he just looked like he didn't even want to be there. Like, it was really weird.
That was last year, wasn't it? Early last year?
Yeah, something like that. So I'm just skeptical, like, why are we even doing this? It's sick. Don't get me wrong. Dude, any more opportunities we have to watch a Nick Diaz fight, I mean, I'm all in. I'm sold. I'm all in.
I agree.
But, definitely a little skeptical on that for sure. But anyway, so those were some announcements we got yesterday. UFC 310. Now, obviously, that's not until December 7th. Correct. We still have UFC 309, which we will be in attendance at, which is John Jones Stipe in Madison Square Garden, and UFC 308, which is at the end of this month, Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway, which our preview and breakdown of that entire card will be coming out next week. That will be our next week's episode. Leading up to that, about a week, the fight week leading up to UFC 308. So anyway, we talked about announcements. We talked about the fight night last night between Royval and Taira. Let's shift gears a little bit. We've had I had somebody actually bring this up to me, so I'm glad we're doing it this week. To kind of discuss and talk about maybe some content and other things outside of just UFC.
Yeah, buddy.
So we have a great opportunity to do that because Friday night we watched a Karate Combat event, Karate Combat 50. That was from Salt Lake City, Utah. So it was in the same place as the Alex Pereira card was the week prior. And interesting enough, for anybody who didn't see this, Alex Pereira's younger sister fought at Karate Combat 50 Friday night.
She's the boogie woman, dude.
I mean, yeah, it's terrifying.
It's scary. Whatever is in that family gene, I don't even want to know, dude.
So and what's crazy, man, is so she fought an Irish woman. She fought an Irish woman that trains with Conor McGregor's coach in Ireland, right? I mean, she's well coached. Like that's no, that's she's no fraudulent person. I mean, she knows what she's doing. Yep. I'm sure. Aline Pereira went in there and just made her look like it was embarrassing. And then that left hook. Like, how perfect, right? When all these people are watching you, the crowd's chanting Chama. Like, what better way to finish that fight than with a left hook? Just like dude, it looked identical to the Jamal Hill knockout.
It really did. Yeah, right when we saw it, we were like, bruh, is this really happening? Like, there's another one out there.
Right.
Like, we're literally about to see the second coming of Alex Pereira in woman form.
Yes.
Like, that's wild.
It's very wild. It is very wild. So but super cool too. And also in her corner, obviously, was Alex Pereira and Coach Cruz.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. I think we have to get on that a little bit more. Like, we got to start.
Be the Coach Cruz of the OTO show.
Yeah. But anyway, that was Friday night. We had Karate Combat 50, and kind of with our 100th episode, we also had a good friend of the podcast fighting Friday night at Karate Combat 50, making his Karate Combat debut as a pretty big underdog.
Fucking beautiful.
was our first ever guest on the show that you and Nick interviewed, well over a year ago at this point.
Yeah. So it's almost been a year and a half or more since our first interview with him.
Yeah. And now he has been on about 2 or 3 times, I guess. At least 3.
Yeah.
At least 3. And that is the man Joe Skeletor Giannetti, who will be joining us for this episode here in a few minutes. So without further ado, we kind of talked about Karate Combat. We talked about Pereira, and the fight that immediately followed that. Our boy Joe Skeletor Giannetti, who made that Karate Combat 50 and made his debut in Karate Combat Friday night with a wildly impressive fashion, has joined us. Joe, we didn't tell you this, but this is also the 100th episode of Over the Octagon podcast. Help us in welcoming our guest, Joe Skeletor Giannetti.
What up, boys?
Let's fucking go, baby.
Crazy. Over the Octagon 100 and KC 50 in 1 week. That's nice.
Dude, not only that, first ever Over the Octagon guest, Joe Giannetti, and now on the 100th episode of Over the Octagon.
It was meant to be.
He's fucking back. Let's go.
We were losing our fucking minds Friday night, bro. Like
MMA, go and challenge him. Oh, wow. That's what he asked. Yes.
Shout out to Twitch. Shout out to Kick.
Yeah, Giannetti has a very fluid use of his karate background.
Looks good.
Oh,
No fucking way.
Let's fucking go. Come on. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go, Joe. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
We're so fucking back.
Fuck yes. Let's fucking go.
Oh my God. Oh, like I can't imagine how you feel and how you felt.
It's crazy.
But like, dude, I know I woke my kids up. They were sleeping. I know I woke them
me
up.
too. 100%.
I was screaming. You know?
I love that. Man, my phone's been going nuts ever since the last 2 days. My
bet.
Instagram's not working. My phone's running slow. I got texts. I got people emailing me videos of the fight. Like, people are hitting me up wherever they physically can.
Yeah. Which is
Love that.
I actually had that thought. So like we recorded our reaction when we were watching the fight or whatever. Which thank you for doing what you did, because it made the reaction that much better for us. Like, had it have gone a different way, even if you had won, it wouldn't have been as popular as it is, right? And our Instagram, our Facebook, the YouTube we put up, like everything was going crazy. And I had that thought yesterday. I was like, fuck, dude, if our Instagram's like this, what the fuck is his Instagram like?
Oh, it's been crazy, bro. It's been nuts. And like my biggest thing was, I was like, when I was in the back room, obviously I'm watching the fights. I see like, Pereira's obviously there for his sister. Yeah. Rampage Jackson's there. I was like, I can't lose in front of Rampage. Like, come on.
Dude, no shot.
Well, and so I said that to you in one of those comments, and but because we literally talked about it, like directly after that, we were like, dude, no fucking way. He just knocked that dude out with the cleanest question mark kick one of the cleanest question mark kicks I've ever seen, in front of Rampage, in front of Poetan. I mean, there were so many people there. There always is at Karate Combat. But yeah, dude, I'm at this point, I've watched it so many times. Like, it was almost emotionally draining for us, like seeing that shit. You were the thing I loved the most, and I said this, you may have seen me say this, but the thing I loved the most was they didn't fucking know you.
They do now.
They didn't know you.
They do now.
You were, with their karate coin, you were like a significant underdog on the money. They were all hyping him up like, he's like this great thing for Karate Combat, which, he's incredibly popular in that promotion. There really wasn't much of like, giving Joe Giannetti a chance here.
I thrive in that.
I know, dude, it was
so great.
Yeah, it made it, and that's my point. Like, it just made it that much fucking better.
Yeah.
So a couple things. First of all, talk to us about Karate Combat. Why Karate Combat? Like how, what, like experience, just anything. I mean, like what's your overall kind of after your first event with them overall experience?
So I mean, overall, or let's start with like how it all happened. I've been a fan
Yeah.
of Karate Combat. I've watched it. Obviously, me and my boys have talked about it, and I've always said like it'd be awesome to do. I never knew how the connection would happen or if it'd be a possibility. And then after unfortunately losing my last MMA fight by split decision,
Yep.
I was kind of just in this point where like, fuck it, why not? The UFC's not going to come calling after a loss. I've got
No.
grappling tournaments coming out. I've got all these things, and it's like if there was ever a time to try and jump in Karate Combat, now's the time. It's I had everything to gain and nothing to lose. If I went out there and I got question mark kicked, it's like, all right, maybe he's not one of the best strikers on the planet, but he's not exactly a karate guy. I'm an MMA guy.
Yeah.
But I've always been confident that if you put me in pure striking, if you put me in Karate Combat, that I will thrive. And I had a buddy of mine, Joe Party Penafiel. He had just fought for them. So I was sitting in my house one night. I wanted to compete, and there was never really any MMA promotions that had dates that worked with my wedding coming up. So I was like, you know what, screw it. So I hit up Joe, and I was like, hey man, I know you just fought for Karate Combat not so long ago. You got any connects? Like I could hit up the matchmaker or somebody I could talk to. Gave me the matchmaker's info, and I shot Leo a message, and he answered me like the next morning. And all I said to him was, I was like, you trying to make any lightweight fights? And he was like, would you go up to 65? And I was like, 10 less pounds to cut?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah,
Hell
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was like, all right, you fight Brandon Jenkins. Didn't even skip a beat. As soon as the message came, I knew who he was. I've seen him fight. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then, he was like, all right, contract's coming in the next few days. Signed it and just got after it.
So even your opponent, right? So, I mean, Brandon Jenkins, I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know a lot about Brandon Jenkins, but just like legit, this is not a trash can that you just beat Saturday. This dude has competed in the UFC. He's competed in the PFL. Obviously has wins in Karate Combat. He's competed in game-bred bare-knuckle MMA. This is not like a dude that's not about it, a dude that's a fucking trash can in the fight game. This is not like an easy opponent to just take like, oh yeah, fucking fuck this, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so get in a little bit. What was the experience like going out to Salt Lake City? How is it for fighters, under the Karate Combat banner? Just like all of that kind of stuff. What was the whole kind of event experience like?
Man, if you're a high level striker or you think you're a high level striker, like Karate Combat is the UFC of striking, from the experience from promotion to fighter and the way they take care of you and make sure what you need, so they book my flights. I get there, they're texting me like, oh, let me know when you get your bags. I told them, they're like, driver will be there in 5 minutes. They send me a driver, send us to the hotel. The hotel was great. They had multiple workout rooms in the hotel, like reserved off for the blue corner and the red corner. And every room had puzzle mats, a personal sauna, and a scale. So like you could go and get working. That's where I trained all week. I saw that the Perhatas were over at the Pit MMA over there, and then we were just at the hotel. We were doing like some light play sparring, pad work, and then just we actually did a lot of grappling this week too. It's just good to burn the calories.
Yeah.
And the media day and everything, awesome. Getting to try on the gi and see everything and try on the gloves. It really reminded me of my fight week for the Ultimate Fighter finale. So it was super high level. Forget just the talent of the guys fighting for Karate Combat, but the production, everything they do, and the way they take care of fighters. It's the best promotion, one of the best promotions I've ever fought for. It was phenomenal. And the fight itself, fight night, it felt like I was in Mortal Kombat. That was crazy.
Yeah,
that's sick. It's still such an up and coming promotion too. I mean, we talk about it every time we watch it and how unique and cool the Pit is to see people fight inside that. How they host, grappling tournaments inside the Pit. They've hosted CJI inside the Pit. That I mean, it's so cool to watch outside of your normal Octagon, UFC, PFL type deal. So it's like. To hear you say the experience is cool, that's pretty dope that they're actually doing that with their fighters as such an up and coming business. That just shows that they've got a bright future, you know?
And I imagine that's what like early on UFC must have felt like. Obviously,
Sure.
I was like in elementary school and that was happening. But like
yeah.
just the crowd and who's there, it felt very tight knit. Like there's nobody there that was like, oh, I was walking down the street and saw something going on. Like everybody's there because they're either there for the influencer fight club or the karate combat fights or there for the grappling. And even competing on the same card as a monster like Wagner Rocha, I didn't even know they had grappling going on that night till fight week. And I was like, holy shit, like Wagner Rocha walks by me in the hotel. Like I was just in Vegas watching him at ADC's and now I'm competing on the same card as him. It was crazy. And
sick.
you know, they have such a priority of one, putting on a show, obviously. Two, making it a fight. We don't want it like they go over on the rules and the prez comes in before everybody starts fighting and just makes it a point. Like we're here to prove we are the best strikers in the world, but we are also here to fight. Like we don't want any of this grappling, short rabbit punches. Nobody's laying on each other. They're very exact on how fights are going to be broken up and how the action is going to keep flowing. Which, you know, obviously I say all the time, like in MMA, it's a little bit more strategic. Guys aren't really there to fight. They're there to win, which I get it, especially with the pay. But like, it's a battle that I always have. Like, I could probably lay on this guy and win this round, but I also want to elbow his head in because we're fighting. And karate combat, I feel like, has that middle ground of like, you still got to be smart and fight your way to win, but we're going to force you to fight, which is awesome. That. And, you know, and then I think it was the co-main of the karate combat fights was an absolute war. You know, I was in the crowd screaming. I was in the crowd screaming, like, give us a fourth round, like, screw that decision. But, you know, the prez came in the pit and he was like, listen, he's like, they're both getting their winner's purse. They fought like winners. That was a war. Like, dude, you don't see that everywhere. And then even the rules meeting the day of the fights, somebody had asked, like, are we doing bonuses, like fight of the night, KO of the night? And he was like, I really want to start doing it. We've actually been thinking about it. So then after my fight, I did my interview with Dean Thomas and he's sitting pit side and he's like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, hopefully a bonus. I was like, I need a knockout bonus. And he's like, we'll see what we could do. And I was like, I'm getting married in 3 weeks. I was like, it was a little iffy taking this fight. I was like, I need a wedding present. And he was like, all right, I'll talk. He's like, I'll talk to the bigwigs. I was like, bet.
That's
sick. So that's his one thing I wanted to ask you. Two questions, but first question, like, did you feel like there was going to be any kind of like adjustment going from MMA to like the karate combat rule set?
So I did it first, and then when we got to the rules meeting, they had even changed a couple more rules previously to me taking the fight. So I kind of went into fight week like it's MMA, but there's no submissions, and you get 5 seconds on the ground. Well, so they did a really good job at the rules meeting explaining, we're not going to tell you any of the old rules. We're just going to tell you the new rules. So there's less for you to get confused. And as far as ground and pound goes, they want functional striking. You're trying to do damage. You're landing big shots. And the deciding factor is if both of your knees are on the ground, we're standing you up because you're not generating as much power if you're on your knees as opposed to postured up. So they always say, like, keep knee on belly or stand over them, but one knee on your opponent, one knee up, but don't have both knees on the ground. So that's why there was a lot of fights. And I even think fighters still kind of confused of like some fights, it was like 40 seconds on the ground and then the fight was over. And there was a lot of fighters that night getting stuck up against the wall or getting stuck on the ground that kind of just shelled up. And I think they were waiting for that 5 seconds, even though they very clearly said it's not 5 seconds. If you're sitting in the fetal position for 30 seconds, he's going to be wailing on you as long as his knees don't touch the ground. And that happened in a couple fights back to back. So that was good. And then as soon as I took the fight, I saw that they added elbows. So I'm like, all right, this is as close to MMA. I was like, this is as close to MMA as possible without submissions. So that's kind of how I went into it. But the ground time, I'm glad they explained it. But that, made it even easier for me to get in there and know that I don't have to worry about too much.
It's pretty funny. You could easily tell they added that elbow rule within the first 3 fights, because everyone was just trying to elbow the shit out of each other.
There was so many questions at the rules meeting, like, I can elbow like this, I can elbow? Yeah, they were like, you can hit any elbow you want, just don't go 12-6. That's not legal until November. But for now, 12-6 is the only elbow you can't throw. So then, of course, first 3 fights, everybody's just elbows on elbows. I was like, damn.
That's sick.
And then, so it's cool. Right, Dean Thomas also does the post-fight for them, which is sick. Love Dean Thomas. I don't know anybody that doesn't like him.
He's the man.
You call out fucking Anthony Pettis.
Yes, sir.
All right,
it's that time, and I want that one.
So why? I mean, I guess why Anthony Pettis? I mean, aside from like the obvious reasons, right? Anthony Pettis is a fucking legend in the combat sports world. But like, what you show up day one, fight one, you're like, fuck it, give me Anthony Pettis.
Because that's like honestly where I'm at, like I want to be the best in the world, whether it's the Karate Combat champion or the UFC champion. I want to be the best fighter in the world. And I grew up watching Anthony Pettis, and beating him, there's no way that doesn't catapult me towards the top, whether it's a shot in the UFC or a Karate Combat title shot or a #1 contender fight. One, that fight launches me that way. Two, it's one of the very few fights that I look at and I go, I don't know if I can beat you. Like, I see a lot of fights and I see a lot of guys and I'm like, I can beat him doing this. Oh, he does that. I can expose that. I watch Anthony Pettis and like, it's been a long time since I've looked at a guy and been like, I don't know if I can beat you. I need to go find out. Like, and I've been doing this so long, and I know so many people are going to disagree with this. I personally feel like I deserve that fight. I'm 29. I have over 20 professional fights. I have more fights than 90% of the lightweights in the UFC. I want a big fight. I want a big money fight. I want to fight a legend. But I want to test myself, and I can do all those things at once fighting Anthony Pettis.
Yeah,
and it's out of nothing but pure respect.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's also funny too, obviously, like, kind of just happened, but I was telling somebody the story of Karate Combat. I actually learned how to do a question mark kick playing as Anthony Pettis in the old UFC game. When I first started training, I just thought it was a really cool kick. I could not figure it out for the life of me. And then one day I was playing Xbox with my buddies and I threw a question mark kick with Anthony Pettis. And I was like, hold on. I just started spamming it and like watching the game. And I'm like, all right, you lift your knee first, then turn it over. Yep. And ever since, I've just been hitting it in sparring and practice and on the bag and stuff. So it kind of just felt like it came full circle between everything else and then hitting that question mark kick in my debut. I was like, all right, I got to fight Anthony Pettis. I got to test myself. I got to see what I'm made of. And I want to see if I can beat a legend like him.
There was some commenters on our reaction clip, I guess training partners of yours or a training partner of yours that said, well, I'm glad he does it to other people and not just to me.
Yeah, I'm not big. Like, I tell people all the time, I don't really spar hard. I don't throw hard in sparring, but like I put all the techniques out there. And the question mark kick is one that I place in sparring all the time. So there was a lot of people hitting me up saying, thank God you finally hit it on someone else.
I mean, the execution of the way you did it was, you couldn't have really drawn it up more perfect than that. I mean, I'm not even trying to like say that because you're my homie, but like, dude, it landed so flush.
And
it
was so clean.
The follow up was just pure beautiful. I mean, you
so
followed up with that left, and then he went down. You can't really write up a fight better than that. I mean,
it was crazy. It was a movie, man. It was still, I'm
really
still kind of sitting here like, holy shit, that happened. Like, I woke up the next day after the fight, very hungover. And I was like, that happened. Like, that was all real. That wasn't like some dream. It was nuts.
Yeah, we were talking about that left uppercut that followed it afterwards, before we got on today. And I was telling him the question mark kick really set it up right. It obviously rocked his world. He like immediately you hit him. He immediately throws this right hand up super tight to his face, but then he turns this way, and I was telling Joel, I was like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, you could tell he didn't really, like, you talk about like intelligently defending yourself. Like, that really wasn't intelligently defending yourself. He almost turned himself into being wide open for you to just land that shot. That was a hard punch.
Yeah, that punch was crazy too, because everybody was like, how hard did you hit him? And I was like, I know it was hard because I didn't feel it. Like, I say it all the time. People always say it like it feels like a home run ball coming off the bat. That's exactly what it felt like. I just threw it and I was like, did it land? And then I saw him go back and I was like, okay, definitely landed, but I did not feel it.
Yep. And you just hopped on him, the ground and pound, obviously, which we talked about with KC.
Yep. I was nervous. I was like, don't put your knees on the ground. Don't put your knees on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, that's smart though, right? Like, there's a lot of guys that, get into different rule sets and all that kind of stuff. And, they've been doing stuff for a certain way so much that it's almost muscle memory.
Yeah,
They
they
know
do
what
a
I mean?
when
great job
MMA fighters transition over to do like boxing fights. You see them
shooting
they almost
doubles.
go shoot
Yeah.
double legs and try to do underhooks and stuff. And
Yeah, they
Yeah.
they have a really, and obviously it's been after years and years, but they have a really good rule set where I feel like you can transition from basically any combat sport, striking combat sport, and adjust pretty easily, like Muay Thai, kickboxing, Taekwondo, MMA, like it's pretty easy to kind of give and take a couple rules to make yourself adapt.
Yeah.
A lot less stressful than, years ago where I thought it would be back when like you couldn't kick the calf, you couldn't elbow, you
Yeah.
couldn't knee. That would have been
Yeah.
stressful.
Yeah. Right. And really the reason, well, aside from the pit, one of the things we love about Karate Combat so much is obviously the pit. I think the pit is elite. I think
the future. It's the future.
Yeah, I think it is. It's the present, and it needs to be more popular than it is.
Yeah.
They're in my and you being a grappler that has competed and stuff, and this is just my personal opinion after watching the CJIs and watching the ADCCs and watching the Fight Pass Invitationals and all that stuff. I really can't see a reason why you have a grappling event outside of a pit anymore.
100%. It's a new tool to use. It's fun. It's exciting. And, like, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but like, I'm sure we all saw the last Jose Aldo fight. That's not happening on the pit. On the pit,
It can't.
It can't. It's not going to happen. You're going to be
Yeah.
able to move, or you're going to slip and end up in a different position.
Yeah.
So, I honestly think MMA in a pit would be sick next.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
But grappling for sure. If you're a big grappling promotion and you're not trying to use a pit, you're going to get left in the dust.
Yeah. There's no resets, right? So like also this past week on Thursday, UFC Fight Pass Invitational 8 with Nicky Rod, as the main event. There's so many resets, and that, thank God, was on a flat mat.
Yep.
Which they actually let it go longer than they have in the past, because in the past UFC Fight Pass Invitational was on a platform.
Yeah.
So they're not even gonna let you get close to
you
coming
lose all
to
that
the
space.
edge. Yeah. Now, they put it flat, but it's still like you're going out of bounds. You're going to have to reset. He was complaining one time before because he claimed he had a body lock, which I think he did, and they reset him and they didn't give him the, they just started it over on the feed. They didn't give him the body lock. None of that happens in the pit. There's no reset. There's, like none of that. And for jiu-jitsu, like that is how you're going to make jiu-jitsu more popular to people.
100%. I mean, the flying armbar, the triangle armbar off the pit
was
insane.
Yeah.
Dude, that was gross. Yeah.
And like, especially now, I think because there is going to be a skill gap between guys that some gyms already have half a pit set up in the gym, guys that are training with it, and other high-level guys that aren't. You're going to see that disparity in their matches, That flying triangle got thrown. The other guy just kind of sat there like,
what the fuck?
Happening?
Yeah. You're never in that position.
Yeah, and I also think MMA guys too coming over. Like if your gym has a pit or you figure out a way to build your own, you're gonna have a little bit more of an advantage. A lot of people are asking me like, "Are you worried about getting stuck on the wall?" And I'm like, I grew up getting into street fights. I've been leaned up against a car with a kid trying to hit me. Like I'm used to stuff like that. You get stuck. You don't get to pick where you fight in the street. So it's so I just looked at it like that. I'm like, if he backs me up against the wall, it's like getting pushed up against the hood of a car. We're fighting.
Yeah, you got to figure it out, right? Yeah, it is different. You watch that, kind of getting pushed up against that slanted wall and the slope and stuff like that. But, that's the thing. When I first saw Karate Combat, the pit, that was my like, what is this, right? And then you see, the fights happen. Then like I watched, who was it? Phil Rowe and Craig Jones.
The jumping triangle, yep.
Jumping triangle, yep.
Right off the pit. Like I'm like, oh shit, this is totally, this is it, dude. Like this is where this sport needs to go. And then, I like the way that Karate Combat is adapting their striking rule set. Obviously, you're adding, I agree. If your legs are up and you're ground and pounding someone, why would you ever stop that? It makes no sense to be like 1, 2, like,
and that's
and then
basically
pick
how
them
they
up.
explained it. They were saying that a lot of guys, and it's a problem in MMA and multiple aspects, but a lot of guys were trying to play that rule set. You know, they'd be a straight Taekwondo guy. They'd come into Karate Combat and they wouldn't train any wrestling, any get-ups. They'd get their foot swept or they'd get dropped and they curl up in the fetal position and they're like, I just got to
wait
sit here for 5
seconds.
seconds.
Yeah.
And they explained it perfect. We don't want to reward a guy for not fighting back.
Yeah.
And that's what guys were doing. They're in the fetal position for 5 seconds and then they just get up like nothing happened.
Yep.
Now you curl up in the fetal position, you're going to take a beating.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that anymore. Yeah. No, I love the direction it's going. It seems like it seems like they're doing all the right things, right? Like the upward trajectory of that promotion is great. It seems like they're doing all the right things. Obviously we share a fight reaction clip. We shared their content, like we shared their fight. Typically we've done stuff like that with other fights. We have issues doing that. It's kind of a roll of the dice. Like, oh, is this going to get copyrighted? Is it going to get removed or is it going to go through? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a coin flip, 100%. And I think I saw you guys reacting to their tweet because I sent it to my buddies. Like, it's freaking awesome. Like, use all our content. Like, that's how it should be. Like, I get it. Pages are monetized and stuff like that, but like, just the eyes, like even the UFC could gain so much more if you were able to post every reaction, and it just makes, oh, I missed that fight, but that finish was crazy. Now I'll go back and watch it. You know what I mean?
Well, even from us, like from a standpoint, from like a smaller YouTube channel, a smaller podcast channel, like as soon as I seen that tweet, we had this conversation like, oh, well, I know what we're going to be doing a lot more of.
100%.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, why
wouldn't we going to be doing Karate Combat content?
Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more Karate Combat content because why would you not? Mm-hmm. I know that I can post Karate Combat clips and content with impunity, not worry about, having shit removed, not worrying about, all that different stuff. And again, like that's just one of the things that I look at them and I'm like, these guys are just doing everything right. Like this is like a promotion now that's being built around the fan experience and getting more eyes on it, more fans, more, how do we make this more enjoyable for people to watch? And it sounds like right from the beginning, they're already doing right by the fighters and taking care of people.
Yeah, they do a lot, man. And it's honestly crazy to me that they can put so much focus on making sure us, the fighters, are getting paid or taken care of on fight week, that our content's getting put out there, your content's getting put out there, the fans at home are enjoying themselves, and then they have like and I'm not super knowledgeable on it, but then they have the whole crypto aspect of it. And it's like people that hold their crypto get a say in the votes on like the rules. So I know like the whole elbow thing, they put it up to a vote to everybody that holds the karate token. And it's like, so if you're a fan, it's like, and like I said, I don't know much about crypto, but it's like, it's about the price of a meme coin. It's like a third of a cent. So if you hold like 5 crypto tokens and then they're like, oh, we're thinking about adding, I don't know, jumping knees. You get to vote. You get to say, like, that's cool. Awesome. That's, as a fan, that's cool. I was obviously a fan before a Karate Combat fighter. So like, that's cool knowing like I can have a say on what I want,
Well, and it's interesting when you look at that from a business standpoint. If you buy their token, you're almost in a way like a shareholder, right? So you're allowing, it's almost like a publicly traded company that, even no matter how much you have, like you don't need to have 51% ownership of the company to make decisions. You have fans that have, small minority stakes of this crypto token in the company that they're putting out to a vote and allowing you to be part of making decisions for the promotion.
I can only imagine how cool so many people must have felt on Friday seeing all those elbow finishes, being I voted for that. I was a part of that. Like, I bet that was sick.
Yeah, and just imagine like bigger promotions, like you think if the UFC, we spend money on the UFC and get no say on it fucking a thing.
Exactly.
You spend a little bit of money you spend a little bit of your own money with the promotion on Karate Combat. It's almost like a you support us, we support you kind of deal, right? Like you support us, we care about what you think.
Yeah. And like I said, the community's tight knit. Like I had people on Twitter like, yo, because you like, I don't know, you get a Karate Combat like wallet for your crypto. He's like, send me your code or whatever. He's like, I'm gonna send you a tip for the fight, something like $30 in crypto. He's like, hold on to it, because then the other thing too is you can bet on the fighters with the crypto token. And you make crypto off of it. You get a say in the rules, and then like now they got this new gaming thing. You like use your crypto to play or whatever. But it's just like, how many times do you see, like, I mean, I don't know, but how many times do you see a UFC fighter does something cool and then somebody in the comments is like, yo, what's your Cash App? I'm going to send you some money. Like,
right.
I personally haven't seen it so much. So, like, an hour after my fight, this guy throws me $30 because he thought my kick was cool. I'm like, hey, you're a #1 fan of mine.
Hey, that's sick.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
well, listen,
that's pretty cool.
Again, I don't want to hold you too much. And, dude, I mean, we're so happy. Like, I'm so happy for you. It was like so amazing to watch that knockout. Like, just, I kept saying to him, I'm like, what? Like, I can't think of a better way. Like, I'm thinking of, like, what could he have done that could have made this any better? I'm like, I don't think there's a single thing. Like, you know, I mean, aside from just like completely knocking him unconscious would be maybe the only other thing.
Yeah. 100%.
There's no other way. Like, there's nothing that could have happened that would have made that performance any better. And again, like we said, 100 episodes of Over the Octagon.
Crazy.
We talked about it a little bit yesterday morning. Like, yo, we should really hit Joe up. And I was like, you know, he's in Salt Lake. I don't know what he's doing, whatever. And then I seen you posted you were back in Boston yesterday. Yep. So today I was like, I mean, you know, 1 o'clock, let's just see what he's doing around 1, you know, and see what's up.
It's Sunday. I got nothing going on. We went grocery shopping. We're going to the movies later, taking her out to dinner. It's our post-fight cheesecake date. So
love that.
I
see you had your post-fight Five Guys.
Oh, it was the first thing I did. We got back. We got back from the airport, took the shuttle back, and then I hit her up and I was like, "Yo, come pick us up. Let's get Five Guys." She was like, "I'm in." So
at this point, they just need to drop that sponsor. You know,
that's what I'm saying, man.
Come
like,
on, Five
I'll
Guys.
wear the hat wherever you need me to go.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, you got a couple things coming up. Let's start with your wedding. You're getting married November 1st. Okay. That's a Friday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need the whole weekend to recover.
I feel that. So, because you and I talked about this before, my wedding's November 9th.
Crazy.
So, the following week right after you. So, you're getting married November 1st. You're competing in Tap Out for Cancer.
Yep.
Right? Which is, I guess, for you in Boston, what, the 16th?
Yep. It'll be a Saturday, November 16th.
So, yeah, a lot of guys. There is an event down here by me in Philly area. Tap Out for Cancer is November 9th.
Oh, nice.
In my area. So, all right, November 16th, Tap Out for Cancer. Obviously, you know, you're fundraising for that. Where can you know, people kind of find something and support that cause, support you doing that, you know, all that kind of stuff?
If you head to my Instagram, I did make a post about it. So I'm selling T-shirts. All the profits go from it, go to the Tap Out Cancer page. Me and a couple of my teammates have a collective page where we're having people donate. We're gonna get a raffle together with some local restaurants, and we're trying to figure out how to do it. Like maybe like sell raffle tickets, and then all the money goes to the page, and then we'll give away like gift cards or whatever. But yeah, we got the shirts, we've got the donation page, we've got the upcoming raffle basket. You can go on Twitter. I posted the link. Or you can go to my Instagram. You'll see it's a giant pink post with a picture of the T-shirt. And it's just a QR code you scan. I'll bring you right to the page. And then like another thing I'm trying to figure out, this is going to be the hard one. I want to do some sort of giveaway towards the end of the month or beginning of November for men's mental health organizations. I just have to figure out how I'd organize it. It'd probably be, I've got a poster from my last Cage Titans fight. It's signed by everybody on the card, my opponent included. I've got the gloves. So I want to get like a frame and a shadow box and stuff and just figure out a way. I don't know if it would be like almost have people bid on it or do like the same thing like raffle tickets. But I want to do something like that and just, you know, I don't give a shit about the money. I just want to donate it to that. It's something that I've always been trying to give to. I never really know how to, so I'm working on it. I did make a lot of connections at Karate Combat, so a lot of people shared the same ideals as me as far as mental health and men's mental health. So hopefully some bigger opportunities to bring money towards that will be coming the end of this year, beginning of next year as well.
Yeah, well, that's another, I mean, quick sidebar, but that's another big benefit of Karate Combat in my eyes is like just the number of people that are there, celebrities. I mean, it's just like, it really is, their shows are insane, and the kinds of people that attend their shows are wild.
Yeah,
you know,
and like, dude, like I said, Rampage and Poetan watched me knock that dude out.
You got to take a picture with Alex Pajeda, like.
That was crazy. He is, he walked by.
Okay, wait, yeah, real quick. Is he as fucking terrifying in person as he looks like?
Terrifying, bro. His sister's terrifying too. Like
She is.
I saw them all week, and I left him alone. I left her alone, and then after the fight, before we went out to the club, like I saw her in the lobby, and I just walked by, and I was like, "Hey, great fight!" And she turned around, and I was like, "Oh no, I pissed her off," and she was like, "Thank you." I was like, "Woo!"
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, because
they were all cool.
Even her at 125 pounds, I don't want the smoke.
She's like almost my height though. She does not look like she's
I
that
know.
small. We did media day at the same time, so I was like checking out the gloves and stuff, and she walked in, and I kind of looked her up and down, and I was like, "You're
The
like my
fuck?
size." I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah. A terrifying family. Some crazy stuff runs in the bloodstream.
The win with a left
Over
hook
there.
is just
That's what I said to him.
poetic.
So we talked about that fight right before you came on. And that's what I said. Like, what are the chances, right? Like, it's so perfect to have that happen, man. But anyway, we're gonna let you go. Thank you as always for taking your time and
AC 50 and over the Octagon 100. I could take that in 1 week and be happy.
Go.
Hell yeah! It's just been awesome. Like, having you on now, like 3, 4, 5 times. I don't even know anymore. Watching your fights, watching these moments, sharing with you the highs and the lows.
Sure. Yeah, no, this is definitely one of the coolest connections I've made through social media and fighting, and you guys are awesome. I mean, you guys made the trip up to Massachusetts. That's still one of the craziest things ever to me.
I know.
Dude, it was one of the best experiences we've had.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it was. I mean, dude, it's the same thing. Like, we watch, you kind of see the lows and stuff that happen throughout somebody's career, and it happens with everybody. And then, so then to get to watch something like we did Friday night, it just makes it like, dude, I just can't express to you enough how I was so fucking happy. Like I
hate that you only got to see Murky's ugly face.
I know.
Like, us in the background.
That was the first video I saw. Like I said, all weekend, like my phone's finally starting to work a little bit more now. But Friday, my phone was going crazy. Saturday was going crazy. But I grabbed my phone as soon as I got out of the doctor's room because I wanted to call Shawnee because I was like, I'm sure she's sweating and pacing the house. And I called her. I jumped off the phone. I was like, I can only imagine how Instagram is. And your video was the first one I saw. I was like, damn, they've already got it out there. I was like, they're putting in work. And then I
hopped in quick.
I tried to load the comments and stuff. Absolutely not. My phone was so slow. I was like, all right, we'll check tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it, man. We love you. Good luck. Congratulations on the wedding coming up in less than a few weeks, man. It feels like it's crazy to think. And I can't wait to see you in that pit again.
You kept the face pretty though. That's all
I know. That was my one rule. Don't come home with cuts or a black eye. So that's what I said. I called her. I was like, "We're good. Picture fine."
Good.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, man. We're gonna let you go. Enjoy it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Good luck to you on whatever's next.
We'll talk.
All right. So that was our boy Joe Giannetti, following his KO victory at KC50. I mean, absolutely love that dude. So we talked about a lot of things today. We highlighted the Royval Taira fight last night. Talked about, upcoming announcements that we got yesterday with UFC 310, what that looks like, flyweight, Belal, Shavkhat. Talked about Karate Combat, which we're definitely going to be getting into a lot more. Yeah, man, any more thoughts before we kind of close this one out?
Nope, no more thoughts, but I just wanted to say a few things before we jumped off. One, happy fucking 100th episode to yourself. I wish Nick was here to celebrate this with us. I know we're going to do a celebration episode, but to look back 2 years ago when me and Nick had a drunk idea that we just love fucking violence and wanted to start a podcast in the world of social media at its peak and high. MMA Twitter at its peak. Like, we didn't know if we were going to find our lane, and then to, find the missing piece to the puzzle and bring you aboard with us. And then now to see the growth and the fucking numbers that we put up over the last, I would even say like the last 8 months, 9 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's night and day from the first year that we had. So, I mean, dude, fucking kudos to yourself. Thanks to Nick for being a part of the journey. Like, I'm stoked to see where we fucking go in the future. And, it's only 100 episodes in, brother. You don't make it until you're probably at this point, and now it's time to really put in the work and grind. So thank everyone for listening. I mean, for anyone that listens on a regular basis, anyone who watches our YouTube videos, likes our shit, shares our shit, like it's the reason. It's you guys who keep us going. Like me and Murky have conversations after seeing even 100 views, and we're just like, dude, we're doing something right. Like we're doing great. And then when we get 500, we're like, fuck yeah, bro, we're doing it. And then now to see we're getting like over 100, watch hours per video, each video, like it's so fucking cool, man. So thanks to everyone who listens. Like
any step in the right direction, keeps us going. 100 fucking episodes is dope.
That is dope.
It's a long way, even for me. Like I think about it in perspective of like I started on this podcast with you guys with, what do we call it? Spar Session Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a one-off thing. Nick wouldn't be available or something like that, and I would step in and did that like 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
Now here we are, 100 episodes. It's just it's
able
sick.
to alternate out and just switch it up. If you're available, he's available, I'm available. Like we just make it work, man. I mean,
too many people that do what we do with this quit before it gets good, right? And the one thing is, like, we never fucking quit. We've taken some time occasionally, but we've never fucking stopped. We've never quit.
We've took some L's, bro.
Yeah,
we've took some mid, like some midpoint L's.
I'm proud of ourselves for never stopping.
Yeah.
But this is another point in the show's longevity or however you want to say it, to just reiterate the fact, fucking all gas, no brakes. 100 episodes in, not even scratching the surface on this thing. Not gonna quit until we're fucking shaking hands with Dana. Interviewing guys like Poetan, right? We're gonna keep going until we get everything that we dream out of this. And
Karate Combat President Asim, listen up, bruh.
Yeah,
holler at us.
We're coming. All right, boys, let's get it. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you're listening on Apple Music, Amazon Music, or Spotify. Turn on automatic downloads, rate the show 5 stars, never miss another episode. Dirty Boy, later, baby.